We want our marketing to be consistent because there's already enough variables in marketing. There's already enough challenges. There's platform changes. There's a technical know-how. There's all kinds of stuff, right? That you have to deal with. The last thing we want is that it performed differently today than tomorrow and the next day, and then you'd have no idea why.
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the Agents of Change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Change podcast, the podcast that helps you reach and engage your ideal customer online. My name's Rich Brooks. This is episode 589, powered by Flight New Media, where we've been helping businesses like yours grow since before Google answered its first query and before Facebook even existed. The purpose of Agents of Change is to help you become the best digital marketer you can be. But if you need a team behind you for branding, web design, or digital marketing, just reach out at takeflight.com or theagentsofchange.com, and I will personally follow up with you. Analytics and reporting are things that we take pretty seriously here at Flight and at the Agents of Change. And while we recognize that not everyone gets as excited as we do about GA4 and other reporting tools, better data leads to better marketing decisions. But not just better data. It's the questions we ask, which the data can help us answer. It's all about starting with strategy. Today, we're going to be looking at a marketing framework for measurement that can help you get more out of the data you're already collecting. Before we get to that, I just want to mention this new tool that I've been playing around with called Am I on AI at amionai.com. This tool will help you identify whether your brand is being mentioned by some of today's top AI tools when your prospects are asking questions that could lead them to work with you. I put in Flight New Media as my test subject, Natch, and then although the tool says it can take up to 48 hours to get a response, I got mine later the same day. It created an AI visibility score for Flight, which was only 54 out of 100, but still considered great on their scale. An excellent rating requires a 76 or above. It also showed me some of my competitors and how they showed up in AI, which was interesting. It showed me the queries that Flight showed up for and some we didn't show up for that could be valuable. So that tells me the type of content that I might want to be creating for these AI bots. I'm on a 14-day free trial with it right now that I'm taking advantage of, and then it switches to $100 a month. Is it worth it? Hard to tell. But with more and more leads coming through AI, maybe $100 to track your growth on these platforms is a no-brainer. I'll have to figure that out, and I'll let you know. If you decide to run your own business through this tool, let me know how it turns out. I am genuinely curious. Now, on with the show. My next guest is the co-founder of Measure Holding Groups, LLC, which represents the brands MeasureU.com, ProfitSchool.com, and MeasureSummit.com. He's a business coach, award-winning blogger, university lecturer, and was the owner of a 5-time Inc. 5000 award-winning agency that was acquired back in 2021. A firm believer in data-driven marketing, he has frequently been named as one of the top 25 most influential PPC experts, and his work has been featured in many industry publications and best of lists. He has had over 50,000 digital marketers enroll in his marketing training programs and has delivered over 100 keynote presentations and workshops in 20 countries. He wants to make you be empowered to take control of your business offers, products, and systems so they can become a strength and something you enjoy doing, leading to a more profitable business. Today, we're going to be talking about all things measurement marketing with Jeff Sauer. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this.
So you are now partnering up with friend of the show, Chris Mercer, aka Mercer, to become a dominant leader in all things measurement marketing. How did that come to be?
Yeah. So if you can't beat them, join them scenario. So Mercer and I, we never really met in person, but we were both had started around 2015, like online teaching courses. Both of us taught actually, I think in a classroom before we went online. We were always doing courses for other people. Like I did them for a lot of online institutes. Mercer was doing stuff for a digital marketer. And so we never actually met. And we were always the person that one group chose as their analytics teacher. And then we got introduced through some mutual friends a couple times, late 20 teens, Peplaya from Conversion Excel, Julian from Measure School. And they're like, you guys should meet. And I was like, I don't want to meet this guy. I don't really want to, he's a competition. I don't really like him. I don't like looking at him. Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, we started talking and turns out he's super generous. He's as generous with his competitors as he is with his students. And I was almost like, what's the catch here? Why is this guy being so nice? Why is he telling me all this stuff? Like he shouldn't be. And it turns out that's just his personality. So we liked talking so much that we did the next call, and then we did the next call, and then we said, hey, we should turn this into a podcast. And so we started podcasting together. And then about 7 months into the podcast, hearing how he thinks about the world and how I think of the world, I said, let's become business partners. And he's like, never even considered that, but I'm open to the idea. And within about 30 days, we had decided we're going to become business partners. And then we spent all of 2024 merging, integrating, getting everything working. And now we're really ready to take on the world in ways that we hadn't been able to do before. And really the main thing is that we just had really complementary skills. And we had a lot of the things that we figured it'd be like force multiplier, 1 + 1 = 10 situation.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Love that story. All right. So speaking of measurement marketing, I'm wondering, what is the difference between marketing measurement and measurement marketing?
Yeah. And why does ChatGPT, or actually not ChatGPT, but why does Google try to autocorrect you all the time when you put measurement marketing down, or they think that you got it wrong, right? It's a counterplay to mediocrity. And so the proper way to say this sentence in the English language would be marketing measurement, because you think of marketing first, then you think of measurement second. And that actually is the problem. When you say marketing measurement, it means that your objective is to do marketing and then figure out a way to measure it later on. And what that results in is dashboards you never look at, data overwhelm, data pukes, whatever it is, all these different situations, big data needing to mine the data in order to get insights, and nobody really finds any value. You have surface level metrics like impressions, maybe some clicks, maybe conversion, yet everything's a conversion. So you have 100% conversion rate and you can't really optimize anything. And ultimately people say either my marketing is working or it's not, but you don't really know why. You don't really know the story in between. And so that's traditional marketing measurement. It's been around for a long time. I can't believe that every day a new person learns measurement, but doesn't understand how it actually should be. And you'd think that the industry would be so mature right now that I wouldn't even need to explain the difference. But ultimately, I do need to explain the difference because people are marketers first and they're data people last. And that's really indicative of the quality of analysis they're doing. Whereas measurement marketing, it's sort of the opposite. You start with what the result you're looking for is, and then you use measurement and you use data and you use tracking all these technologies to hone in your results to get the precise answer as to how do you make your marketing better. And so what it does is it puts you in a position of you have to do a little bit more work up front, but not a lot. And actually with AI, most AI can do most of that work for you. ChatGPT is very well versed in what measurement marketing is. So you can actually have it spit out all that you need to do through AI. But the answer is that you do a little bit of upfront work to be more intentional with what you're measuring, more focused on the result you're looking for. And then you might choose channels based on your strategy. And when you do that, you're going to find that it's a lot easier to tell if it's working or not. You're going to find that it's a lot more practical, the results that you're measuring. And then you're going to be able to forecast things into the future to get better results over and over again, because you're really pinpointing the things that you need to do to be successful with measurement. So instead of being a top-in approach, it's more of a bottom-up approach. You're building this thing from the ground up with measurement marketing.
All right. And I've definitely gone into clients' websites that we've taken over and seeing that 100% conversion rate, because page view was the conversion they were measuring. And every time somebody visited a page, check that box. Yep. So I've seen that problem. So you have this framework that you've developed called the Measurement Marketing Framework. Can you walk me through the key concepts in that?
Yeah, for sure. So, and this will help understand what measurement marketing is. So it's not just like an idea of a countering marketing measurement. It's actually a framework that gives you a way to look at the entire world that you're living in marketing. And it's a 9-step framework. And the idea is to go from what we call marketing in the blind to having predictable and scalable results with your marketing, which is all what we want. We want our marketing to be consistent because there's already enough variables in marketing. There's already enough challenges. There's platform changes. There's a technical know-how. There's all kinds of stuff, right? That you have to deal with. The last thing we want is that it performed differently today than tomorrow and the next day, and then you'd have no idea why. Or the person who left your account is gone, and now you have no idea how to read the reports. Or they set something up based on their limited knowledge, but they didn't have any consistency. So this framework allows you to be consistent with what you do. It's very strategic. So it starts with the answers and then works its way back to the results you're going to do. And it just gives you it's just more clear of what to do. So if you've ever been overwhelmed by what do I do? This is just telling you, here's the 9 things that I would look at in order to get to knowing what to do. Now, 9 things might sound overwhelming, but it's pretty straightforward. So the first thing is we have a plan phase. It's phase 1. And the plan it's 3 things. We call it KIA, QIA. You need questions, which is like, what are the results that you're looking for? And how are you getting those results? So the questions, like, what questions do you want to answer from having data, from measuring your marketing? Next thing is what information, which is what behaviors do you need to collect in order to know the answer to enhance that? And then finally, what actions? So if this happens, what actions would you want to take? So for example, if our conversion rate is 100%, what would we do? If our conversion rate is less than 1%, what would we do? So basically role playing and saying what you would do in the scenario when this hits the real world and having that plan for that before you even start measuring. Now, it sounds like you run ads. I've run ads many times, and anything around marketing. What ends up happening is as soon as it doesn't match, either you don't have a plan, like the agency doesn't have a plan, or the client doesn't have a plan, or they don't really know what they want. And then as soon as something happens in the market, you get either emotional and you get reactive, or you throw the plan out the window, or you don't really know what to do, or you're not even measuring something. And so you're like, why is this working or why is it not working? It's not very intentional. But if you do that before you put this into the market, now you're like saying, hey, if this works, here's what we're going to do. And then everybody's on the same page. So you're not just guessing at that point. You're doing what you think you need to do, what the company agreed on doing. So that's the first step. We call it planning because we're not putting a line of code on a website. We're not doing anything. We're coming up with these answers, and we are using that or not even answers. We're coming up with the framework, and then we're saying, hey, if is this good to you? Clients who get it, they'll be like, yeah, this is good. Sometimes they might need some compromise. They might need to change things around, but that's the whole point. They say like in the coding world, it's easier to catch something in the UX design. It costs almost nothing to change something when it's in a design file. Once you write code, it's more expensive to change it. And then once it's quality assured, it's almost impossible to change it, right? Same thing with your marketing. It's like, it's easier to catch these things sooner and get on the same page. So it just lets everybody take a beat, pause, and say, hey, this is what we're going to do if this works. If it doesn't work, these are the scenarios we're going to play. And then you build it out. So I'm not going to I'll go into depth on building. So the next one is you build, and that's a 3-step process as well. What results do you want? Like how many users are going to ask, consider, and transact with you? Traffic, who's sending you traffic? What type of traffic and why are they sending it to understand your traffic? And then story, which is a combination of your results and your traffic. What is the story that ended up happening here? So piecing together a story. These are real humans coming to our website. Why did they do that? What happened? What could we do better? What didn't go well? What do we need to improve? And that just gives you a pretty clear input as to why it worked or not.
And are we at this point looking at actual data that's coming in, or are we still kind of hypothesizing about what we expect to see or what the framework is that we're going to be paying attention to?
Yeah, while you're building it, you're being intentional with like, what is the result we're looking for, making sure you have your conversion set up, traffic, making sure that your traffic is tagged properly with UTM codes and everything like that. And then story is really just it's a little bit of like tying it back to the first step while you're doing this. So you are in the build phase, you are putting the code on your site, you are putting these things in place, you are putting the tracking in place as much as possible to get that in place. So you will be building, you'll be putting it on your site. You probably won't be doing as much analysis because you're just waiting for that initial data to come in. There could be some challenges. There could be, it could be something wasn't implemented properly or on time. So you're it's like your test month of starting to collect the data.
So if I'm planning on putting on a presentation here in town under the brand Flight School, in the build stage, maybe I'm starting to think about the UTM or writing out the UTM codes that I'm going to be using for tracking and all this sort of stuff. Am I planning out or working on the ad campaigns or the other marketing stuff that I'll be doing at this point, or is that still to come?
Yeah, so I think, well, with results, you're going to be talking about like what your action is. So, what is your conversion metric and what is your success? And then traffic is what channels are you going to use? So, you would be saying, I mean, and actually, the framework is pretty agnostic to traffic. It accepts any traffic as long as you tag it properly. So, later
Right.
on in a later step, you can then do individual channel level analysis. But the cool thing is, a channel level analysis is tied to the result and it's tied to the user journey as opposed to just ad platform saying you got a conversion or you didn't. So it's multi-dimensional, which is really nice. And then and that allows you to create that story, which is such an important piece of everything that you're doing. And so they do work hand in hand. You don't like it's all right. We are talking about setting up measurement marketing, not necessarily setting up a marketing campaign, but they work hand in hand, right? So as long as you
Okay.
have this in place before you run traffic to something, you will have the benefits of measurement marketing.
Understood. Excellent. All right.
Yeah, and you have the ability to adjust. And then the third step is you launch it. So you get this into the marketplace. Well, the first thing is, and you all know, we all have a plan until we get punched in the mouth, like as according to Mike Tyson, right? So we're listening. Like, is this matching our plan? Is this what we thought was going to happen? Forecast. Can we use these results to forecast what will happen next week, next month? Our dashboards are so sophisticated that by taking the questions, information, and actions from the first step and what the actions are, we can program that into the dashboard so you know if you're on track or not. By answering that stuff earlier on, we end up building that into the later dashboards so you know if you're on track or not, which is great because then you can say, hey, we expected you to be at 55% of people would do this. Only 45% are doing it. And that's why you're not hitting your numbers. And then you know that's where you need to make the adjustment is to that percentage, that little part of the entire funnel or the funnel instead of the entire funnel, right? And then the final step is optimize. And what happens when you optimize? You go and fix that. So we don't, like basically measurement marketing is better than marketing measurement because we are purposeful and we are intentful. I think that measurement marketing is better than conversion rate optimization. Conversion rate optimization or CRO and A/B testing. And I don't mean all conversion rate optimization. I specifically mean A/B testing. A/B testing, what ends up happening is you're basically saying, let's run a test to figure out if wildly different version A works better than wildly different version B. And let's put some math behind it and some statistics. Most sites don't get enough traffic to make that happen. And most of them they're basically saying, we don't know what our strategy is. So let's try two strategies because then we have a 50-50 chance of getting it right compared to if we do one strategy, we have a 100% chance of getting it wrong because we know it's wrong. So testing in that sense doesn't really make sense. However, if you say, hey, let's tag our site for these actions, let's say what our benchmarks are, what we're trying to hit, and then let's give us a visual representation of where we're falling short. You're not having to do an A/B test. You're just fixing the one thing that's broken. You're fixing the thing that's broken on your funnel, as opposed to having two different funnels and hoping that one of them works.
Makes a lot of sense. And I think most of the people that listen to this podcast probably fall into that camp of we're not getting massive numbers of people to our website, anywhere from a few hundred to maybe 10 or 20,000. That's going to be a big difference. Maybe on the high end, you're getting some good data for some A/B split testing, but for most people, there's just not enough data points there.
Yeah.
So we implement this framework. And once we've got it in place, what are some of it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. I think you even used that word before when you see some of these reports. When you are working with people, are there like 3 to 5 critical KPIs that almost every business needs, or is it a case by case basis? And how do we figure out what the KPIs are that lead to that bottom line revenue?
Yeah. So this is going to sound, you won't even believe this, but we don't really use the word KPIs all that much. And it's because we ultimately all the planning ends up becoming your KPI. So it's more around like, what are the actions that you want somebody to take? What are the questions you want to answer? And what's the information you need? And that's ultimately like a proxy for a KPI. So our QIA, Kia steps, help you figure out what your traditionally are called KPIs. But it's not like we're saying like out of this thing, you're saying, hey, I let's do a KPI of purchase value and then add to cart rate and stuff like that. We don't think in those terms because ultimately that is I think that sort of makes these metrics try to be magic bullets. It's the overall view, the view of what's happening. And we look at it as like an overall holistic process. Like, hey, you have a sales page you're sending people to, and you want somebody to buy. We're giving you a dashboard as to every single place where they stop the buying process. And so that's not, you don't really need a KPI to say that. Like ultimately, if you would put a gun to my head and said, what are the KPIs? It's probably sales, leads, it's whatever your conversion action is. Like that's the KPI. Right. But everything else, it's really, we call it eyes on the journey, for example. We have a funnel of the 5 eyes of where they drop off in the process. We have the expected funnel, add to cart rates, and those types of things. That is our KPIs. But we're not looking at it like, it's not quantitative, it's diagnostic. Okay, so I think that's the difference in thinking. We are using this as a diagnostic tool as opposed to saying report on these 3 things and everything will be solved. We're giving you 10 things that are potential, but hopefully only one of them really matters, because if you fix that one thing, it gets the water to go down the funnel. It
right.
fixes the clog.
Right. Understood. It fixes a clog, or at least you patch up all the leaks along the way, so more of the leads actually reach wherever you want to have them end up. Now, we can't have a conversation about marketing and not bring up AI. So you mentioned AI earlier, and you can kind of lean into it when you're setting up a lot of these processes. How are you using AI to get better measurement?
Yeah. So AI it's incredible, right? So just first of all, we do what we call AI first. So our Profit School brand, everything is AI first. And that is, instead of even asking another human, ask AI to make you smarter. The analogy I've been using lately is that as AI gets to artificial general intelligence, which means that it has an IQ over 180 or whatever, basically means that you have the smartest human being ever on your shoulder talking to you. So you have Albert Einstein on one shoulder and Stephen Hawking on the other one. And so why wouldn't you ask them what they think about something before you even talk to a human? It makes your ideas better. It refines them, and it kills a lot of bad ideas, and it puts fire on a lot of good ideas. So that's pretty cool, right? So when it comes to marketing or measuring your marketing, to the measurement marketing, it can do a lot of stuff. First of all, I mentioned that it can be intimidating or a little bit challenging to set up something like measurement marketing, because it makes you make decisions earlier. And a lot of times marketers just punt decisions over and over again, and they rely on instinct and like, I don't want to make a decision. I just want to put something in the market and let the market decide. So this one allows you to answer those questions sooner with AI. So if I said, what question should I ask? AI will give you the answer. And then you can put it through the human filter of what your business, whether those things make sense or not. What information do I need? What action should I be doing? Chat with AI. I've actually created a measurement marketing, a custom agent, custom GPT in ChatGPT. I've created one in Google Gemini, and it basically maps you through the framework and tells you exactly how to fill it out. So it's like a cheat sheet for this exam on how to do things. It's just there for you, right? So it's a cheat sheet for you. If people are intimidated by putting code on their site to track these things, because it's easier to say, I want these 3 KPIs. And and if Google Analytics has those things in there, you're like, I'm covered. My KPI is bounce rate, and Google has it in there. Awesome. I don't need to learn code. I don't need to do anything. Well, the reality is that that's a crappy KPI. Bounce rate it's like a metric when you don't have metrics. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's basically like a default. It's like saying, I give up and I'm just lazy. So if you're in lazy, or I don't have the knowledge. So, and I'm not accusing people of being lazy necessarily, but yes, if you don't think about these problems, it's sort of lazy to choose bounce rate as a KPI. Trust me, I've seen 1,000 reports that have done it though. And I've been on a personal mission to stop that. Anyway, rant over. So we get into the point where eventually, if you want to be above average and you want to actually do these things, you probably need to code your site a little bit and customize it. Well, AI does that. I gave examples where it tells you what you can put, what tags in Google Tag Manager, what are your triggers, what actual code do you put in there, what values do you put in there. It creates like a table where you put that stuff in there. So all these things that used to require knowledge or buying a course or something like that, you can actually get at the answer. And then suddenly, and all you really need is just the confidence and the experience and the syntax to do that, to get this thing in place. And now you're doing measurement marketing. So it's actually not like we always say it's a 90-day process. I think that the first time you do it, it might be 90 days if you include learning curves and everything like that for the rest of your life, right? But the next time you do it, it could be in a couple of days, because it's that efficient, and AI can really cut that learning curve down in every way possible.
So when you're using AI, you're not talking about the AI that's built into some platforms. You're talking about using a separate AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini to help you through the process of getting these things set up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one use case, and that's exactly that's the a good use case for it right now. As far as saying like, hey, what if I use an AI feature in Google Analytics to do all my analysis for me? That wouldn't really be congruent with our framework because Google Analytics doesn't understand our framework. If it was built on it, that would be great, but they don't have the customization necessary to do that. You can change a few things around, but ultimately, most of our analysis isn't happening in the analytics tool anyway, the clickstream analytics tool. It's happening in the dashboard. It's happening in the visualization. And that's another one where you can use AI to tell you how to visualize these things. We have our templates. So it's a combination of even the free resources at our Measure U community, plus AI, plus this templates that we give away for free as well, that really fill in all those blanks. So it's a combination of these things. If I were to say, there's an AI tool that's going to solve your problem. The closest one is probably Microsoft Clarity, which has, it's built by Microsoft. It has, they have their great relationship with OpenAI. That one is starting to do some analysis for you. But again, that analysis is only as good as what inputs you give it and what you tell it your strategy is. And so if they don't know that, like Google Analytics doesn't really know, they don't distinguish between what type of website you have, any of that stuff. They're way behind on this, and they're not even close to giving you insights yet. Maybe at some point it'll be there, but for now, the answer is you would use AI to make sure that these tools match your strategy versus the other way around, that their AI strategy is your strategy.
So it's more like these Google Analytics is more like a or a viewing tool. So you can kind of see how people came to your website, maybe what their behavior is. But in terms of getting this more accurate data, or maybe not accurate, but this data that can help you measure more accurately, build out better processes, build out better campaigns, that's really the leverage of the AI. And you're using that in these third-party LLMs, if that's what I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, within reason, yeah. So I know it's a little bit complicated, but yeah, you're not using AI for Google Analytics. Google Analytics basically is your database. It's your repository that that collects all the data that's happening, helps you deal with things like consent, especially when in a privacy-led world, like if people are opting out of cookies and stuff like that. It's still your repository where you store things. It's storage for you, but then it's how you take that stored data and then you visualize it, you represent it, you match it to your strategy. That's the important thing. And that's really, I mean, it's a combination. Right now, you're using a combination of the framework plus AI to help you build that out, to do more of the coding piece, the technical stuff right now. And then, but you can still use it for analysis. Like in ChatGPT, there's custom GPTs that allow you to upload a data file and it will do analysis for you. It's ultimately the only challenge with that is just getting the data ready to go, right? It's exporting the data. It's still a pretty technical endeavor to get data out of one system and into another system, which I hope changes soon, because that will help you with the analysis. It's just what quality of the analysis will it be if it doesn't understand your strategy?
You mentioned that you had created a custom GPT based on your framework. Is that something that's in the ChatGPT marketplace, or how does one get their hands on?
Yeah. By the time this episode goes live, that it should be live in the marketplace. So you'd be able to do the measurement marketing custom GPT on ChatGPT.
All right, cool. If somebody wanted to implement your measurement marketing framework, what is like the first step or two that they should take to get started?
Yeah, so they can join our community. We have a really thriving and vibrant community of people who are interested in this. There's chat, there's a bunch of resources in our toolbox, and there's even occasional live training they can get into, and they can watch workshops and stuff like that. It's the place to be, and that's over at measureu.com. You can join our community. I think it's still free, but we are going to charge for it once we reach a certain number of people. But I think as they're listening to this, just assume that it's free. And then you get that stuff and you can get a PDF of the framework. I'm actually looking at it right now. You have templates, everything you need in order to implement these things, plus some pretty high level training on how to do the basic steps. And then if you need more help, you can take courses and stuff like that. Those are premium. So we do charge for the courses, and we have live implementation. So we have coaches who would help you through this stuff live multiple times a week. And so the biggest step is to get familiar with the framework, watch some of those videos, and then start to to fill out the templates we give you. Like, what questions do you want to answer, or do you want to ask? What information do you need? What are you going to do if this works? And that's really how you get started. It's pretty quick, pretty easy to grasp. Just like anything that's new, to change your mindset from like the old way of doing things to the new ways, it can be a little bit uncomfortable or challenging to do that, but that's growth. We call that building muscle, and we call that really building that the moat around your business, around your career and everything. So going to our community is a really good place to start. And then, even just having the plan, like you can get to the point where you're asking the questions, you're looking for the information and the actions. This is the key steps. And if you don't think this is going to be useful to implement it, go back to the way you're doing it. But honestly, there's people who are like celebrities in our industry who are like, once I saw Kia, I couldn't unsee it and I can't go back to the old way of doing things. And that's the hook right there.
Nice. If people want to learn more about you, Jeff, if they want to learn more about Measure U, where do we send them?
Yeah, so measureu.com, as I mentioned, they can join the community there. I also do something called Profit School. It's about AI first business, and that's where we talk about how to do this for your business, not just for your marketing measurement, but for everything. I do a weekly newsletter that we publish. We publish newsletters for Measure U and for Profit School. We have an annual conference at Measure Summit. So you had mentioned these in the intro, but it's measureu.com, profitschool.com, and measuresummit.com. They're all just ways they're for specific audiences. Sometimes there's some overlap, but the idea here is to push you forward into the new era, the new way of doing things, the AI first way of doing things as much as possible, whether it's for measuring your marketing or if it's for your business itself. So those are the places where you can find us.
Awesome. And we'll have all those links in the show notes. Jeff, thanks so much for coming by today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rich. Really enjoyed this.
There was a lot of great information that Jeff shared with us to parse through. So if you need a little bit more help with it, maybe you want some notes or a full transcript or a blog post based on the interview we just listened to, then head on over to the website at theagentsofchange.com/589, where you'll find all of those items as well as all the links that Jeff shared with us and a whole bunch of other goodies. It's likely that you and everyone who listens to this podcast has GA4 installed, and possibly some other tools like Microsoft Clarity as well. However, it's not just about collecting data. It's about having a strategy in place and then leveraging the data to improve your reach and conversion rate to truly become an agent of change.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.